Ever wondered if love could be found amidst the dusty shelves of an antique shop, or perhaps in the fierce battle of an online auction? Vintage Hearts, Digital Souls takes you on a journey to Charleston, South Carolina, where seasoned antiques appraiser Esther Westbrook finds her traditional world upended by technology, a forgery scandal, and a surprisingly charming tech entrepreneur. Prepare to be captivated by a story of second chances, clashing worlds, and the enduring power of connection, where the treasures of the past pave the way for a future filled with love and legacy. Chapter 1. The Gavel's Echo and the Glitch's Sting. Esther Westbrook, at 59, possessed the sharp eye of a seasoned antiques appraiser and the weary sigh of someone perpetually behind on technology. Her world was one of mahogany and monograms, of handwritten letters and the faint scent of beeswax polish. Vintage Hearts, her aptly named Charleston-based business, had thrived for decades on the personal touch, the whispered provenance, the thrill of the live auction. But the gavel's echo was fading, replaced by the incessant ping of online bids. She sat in her cluttered office, a haven of organized chaos nestled in the heart of Charleston's historic antiques district. Sunlight streamed through the tall windows, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air, a scene that could have been lifted from a Dickens novel. Esther, with her silver-streaked auburn hair pulled back in a practical yet elegant bun, squinted at the computer screen. Her son, Marcus, had insisted on this digital transformation, dragging Vintage Hearts into the 21st century with an online auction platform. "It's the future, Mom," he'd said, his voice brimming with the tech-fueled optimism of his generation. Scalability, reach, efficiency. Esther, however, felt more scaled back than scaled up. The screen flickered, the cursor blinked mockingly, and the live auction countdown timer ticked away with unnerving speed. She preferred the slow burn of a traditional auction, the hushed anticipation, the subtle cues of a seasoned bidder. This digital frenzy felt impersonal, sterile. A particularly rare item, a 19th century writing desk with a hidden compartment, was currently on the virtual block. Esther had personally authenticated it, tracing its lineage back to a prominent Charleston family, its secret drawer once holding love letters and whispered secrets. The bidding was fierce, the price climbing steadily, fueled by anonymous bidders hidden behind usernames like HistoryHunter76 and Southern Charm 843. Suddenly, the screen froze. The countdown timer stuttered, then vanished. A dreaded error message flashed. System failure. Auction temporarily suspended. Esther groaned, running a hand through her hair, dislodging a stray silver strand. The glitch's sting was not just technical, it was a personal affront. This desk, this history, deserved better than a digital hiccup. "Marcus," she called out, her voice echoing through the shop. Marcus, 35, appeared almost instantly, his tech-savvy aura a stark contrast to the antique-filled surroundings. He was the embodiment of modern efficiency, with his neatly trimmed beard, stylish glasses, and a smartphone seemingly glued to his hand. "What's up, Mom?" he asked, his fingers already flying across his phone screen. "The system crashed," Esther said, gesturing towards the frozen computer, right in the middle of the writing desk auction. Marcus frowned, his brow furrowing in concentration. "Damn it," he muttered. "Looks like a server overload. Too much traffic." Too much traffic? Esther found the concept both baffling and irritating. In her world, traffic meant a bustling auction room, the scent of old money and anticipation thick in the air. This invisible, digital traffic felt like a phantom menace, threatening to unravel the carefully curated world she had built. As Marcus worked frantically to resolve the issue, Esther's gaze fell upon a framed photograph on her desk, a picture of her late husband, Arthur, a fellow antiques enthusiast who had shared her passion for history and craftsmanship. He would have understood her frustration, her resistance to this digital invasion. The gavel's echo, the physical weight of a catalog, the hushed whispers of a live auction, these were the rhythms of her life, the language of her soul. And this glitch, this digital disruption, felt like a betrayal of everything she held dear. It wasn't just about the lost sale, it was about the loss of connection, the erosion of a world she understood and cherished. The sting was not just technical, it was existential. Chapter 2. Charleston Charm and Cyber Challenges. The system glitch, while eventually resolved by Marcus's frantic coding, left a lingering unease in Esther. It was a stark reminder of her dependence on a technology she barely understood, a vulnerability that chafed against her independent spirit. The incident also sparked a flurry of concerned emails and calls from clients, their anxieties amplified by the anonymity of the online platform. The following day, Charleston's annual Antiques Festival was in full swing. The streets of the historic district, usually a haven of quiet charm, throbbed with activity. Booths lined the cobblestone streets, showcasing a dazzling array of vintage treasures, gleaming silverware, delicate porcelain, intricately carved furniture, and the alluring glint of antique jewelry. Esther, despite her reservations about the digital world, recognized the festival's importance. It was a chance to connect with clients in person, to reaffirm the personal touch that defined vintage hearts, and to reassure them that the digital hiccup was an anomaly. She strolled through the bustling streets, her expert eye scanning the displays, her senses attuned to the subtle nuances of authenticity. She paused at a booth showcasing a collection of vintage postcards, their faded images and handwritten messages whispering stories of bygone eras. A deep voice, tinged with a hint of amusement, startled her. "Penny for your thoughts," or perhaps a few $1,000s for that rare Civil War-era postcard. Esther turned to see a man standing beside her, his eyes, a striking shade of blue, crinkling at the corners with a smile. He was tall, with a distinguished air, his silver hair contrasting with a neatly trimmed salt and pepper beard. He wore a linen shirt and khakis, exuding a casual elegance that spoke of old money and refined taste. "They're not for sale," Esther said, her voice regaining its composure. "Just admiring the craftsmanship." "Ah, a fellow connoisseur," the man said, extending his hand.
"I'm Harrison Blake."
"And you must be Esther Westbrook. I recognize you from your website." Esther shook his hand, a flicker of surprise crossing her face. "You've been on my website?" "Indeed," Harrison said. "I was one of the bidders on that exquisite writing desk yesterday." Until the unfortunate interruption. So, he was History Hunter 76. Esther felt a mixture of annoyance and intrigue. This man, with his charming smile and evident appreciation for antiques, was also a participant in the digital world she so distrusted. "A regrettable incident," Esther said, her tone still guarded. "We're working to ensure it doesn't happen again." "I'm sure you are," Harrison said, his eyes holding hers. "But perhaps there's a certain charm in the unpredictable nature of a live auction. The thrill of the chase, the human element." Esther felt a reluctant agreement. His words echoed her own sentiments, her own yearning for the tangible, the personal, the human connection that seemed to be fading in the digital age. They spent the next hour strolling through the festival, discussing their shared passion for antiques, their differing views on technology, and the challenges of navigating a rapidly changing world. Harrison's knowledge of history and his appreciation for craftsmanship were impressive, but it was his underlying warmth, his genuine interest in her perspective, that began to chip away at Esther's defenses. The Charleston charm he exuded was undeniable, but it was the cyber challenges they both faced, albeit from different perspectives, that formed an unexpected connection, a shared vulnerability in a world increasingly dominated by algorithms and anonymity. Chapter 3. Bidding Wars and Lingering Glances. The online auction for the 19th century writing desk resumed, the system glitch seemingly resolved. Esther, however, found herself strangely distracted. Her thoughts kept returning to Harrison Blake, his charming smile, his insightful comments, and the unexpected connection they had forged amidst the bustling Antiques Festival. She watched the bidding war unfold on her computer screen, the numbers climbing steadily. History Hunter 76 was back, his bids aggressive and determined. But another bidder, Southern Charm 843, was proving to be a formidable opponent. The two usernames were locked in a fierce battle, driving the price far beyond Esther's initial estimate. A part of her, the seasoned appraiser, was thrilled by the escalating bids. It validated her assessment of the desk's value, its historical significance, and its undeniable allure. But another part of her, the woman who had connected with Harrison Blake, felt a pang of something she couldn't quite define. Was it jealousy, rivalry, or something more? Marcus, oblivious to her internal turmoil, was ecstatic.
This is insane, Mom,
he exclaimed, his eyes glued to the screen. We're breaking records here. This is exactly why we went digital. Esther forced a smile, trying to share his enthusiasm. But the digital triumph felt hollow, lacking the visceral thrill of a live auction, the tangible connection with the bidders. As the bidding war reached its climax, Esther found herself holding her breath. History Hunter 76 placed a final, decisive bid, a number that made even Marcus gasp. Southern Charm 843 hesitated, then fell silent. The gavel icon flashed on the screen, signaling the end of the auction. Harrison Blake had won. Esther felt a strange mixture of relief and disappointment. She was happy for Harrison, genuinely pleased that he had acquired the desk. But she also felt a pang of regret, a sense of loss that she couldn't quite explain. Later that evening, she received an email from Harrison. Dear Ms. Westbrook, it read, I trust this email finds you well. I was delighted to be the successful bidder on the writing desk. It's a truly exquisite piece, and I look forward to adding it to my collection. I was also hoping we might have the opportunity to discuss its provenance in more detail. Perhaps over dinner? Esther stared at the email, her heart beating a little faster. The invitation was unexpected, yet somehow inevitable. The bidding war had been a virtual duel, a contest of wills and wallets. But the lingering glances they had exchanged at the festival, the shared passion for history, the unspoken connection, those were real, tangible, and undeniably intriguing. The online battle had ended, but the offline encounter was just beginning. The gavel had fallen, but the echo of their connection resonated far beyond the digital realm. Chapter 4. The Collector's Conundrum: Authenticity versus Algorithm. Esther accepted Harrison's dinner invitation, a mixture of anticipation and trepidation swirling within her. She chose a small, intimate restaurant in the French Quarter, known for its traditional Charleston cuisine and its quiet, romantic ambience. It was a place where conversations flowed easily, where the clinking of glasses and the murmur of voices created a soothing backdrop for connection. Harrison arrived promptly, looking even more distinguished in the soft candlelight. He greeted her with a warm smile, his blue eyes holding a spark of genuine pleasure. I'm so glad you agreed to join me, Esther, he said, his voice a low, resonant rumble. I've been looking forward to this all day. Esther returned his smile, her initial nervousness easing. I confess, I was intrigued by your email, she said, and your persistence in acquiring that writing desk. It's a beautiful piece, Harrison said. But it's more than just the aesthetics. It's the history, the story it tells. That's what truly captivates me. They spent the evening discussing the desk's provenance, sharing their knowledge of 19th century Charleston history, and debating the finer points of antique restoration. Harrison's passion for authenticity mirrored Esther's own, and she found herself drawn to his intellectual curiosity, his genuine respect for the past. However, their conversation also revealed a fundamental difference in their approaches to the antiques world. Harrison, despite his love for history, was a firm believer in the power of technology. He saw the online platform as a tool to connect collectors, to expand access to rare items, and to preserve history for future generations. The digital age presents challenges, certainly, he admitted. But it also offers incredible opportunities. We can reach a global audience, share information instantly, and even use technology to authenticate and restore antiques with greater precision. Esther, while acknowledging the benefits, remained skeptical. But what about the personal touch, Harrison?
She asked.
The thrill of the hunt, the face-to-face interaction, the trust that's built through years of experience and reputation? Those things are still important, Esther, Harrison said. But they can coexist with technology. We can use algorithms to identify potential fakes, to track provenance, to connect buyers and sellers with greater efficiency. But ultimately, it's the human element, the expertise of appraisers like you, that determines true value. Their debate continued throughout the evening, a friendly but spirited exchange of ideas. They didn't always agree, but they listened to each other, respecting their differing perspectives. It was a collector's conundrum, a clash between the tangible beauty of authenticity and the cold, hard logic of the algorithm. But amidst the debate, a deeper connection was forming, a mutual respect and admiration that transcended their professional differences. The dinner was more than just a discussion about antiques. It was an exploration of values, a gentle probing of beliefs, and a subtle dance of attraction between two individuals navigating a changing world. Chapter 5. Tea, Treachery, and Typewriters. The following week, a shadow of suspicion fell upon Charleston's antiques community. A series of seemingly authentic historical documents, including letters purportedly written by prominent figures of the Civil War era, surfaced at various online auctions. The prices soared, fueled by the excitement of collectors eager to own a piece of history. However, whispers of doubt began to circulate. Eleanor Ainsworth, a 75-year-old mentor to Esther and a doyen of the Charleston antique scene, voiced her concerns during their weekly afternoon tea ritual. They sat in Eleanor's meticulously preserved Victorian parlor, surrounded by antique furniture, delicate china, and the faint scent of lavender. The sunlight streamed through lace-curtained windows, illuminating the room with a soft, ethereal glow. "Something's not right, Esther," Eleanor said, her voice laced with concern. "These letters, they're too perfect. The paper, the ink, the handwriting, it's all too consistent." Esther, who had also examined some of the documents online, shared Eleanor's unease. Her trained eye, honed by years of experience, had detected subtle inconsistencies, tiny details that didn't quite align with known historical records. "I've been trying to trace the provenance," Esther said, "but the sellers are all anonymous, hidden behind online usernames. It's like chasing ghosts." "Ghosts with very good forgers," Eleanor said, her brow furrowed. "This could be a major scandal, Esther. It could ruin the reputation of our entire community." The threat was real. The Charleston antiques community prided itself on its integrity, its commitment to authenticity, and its long-standing tradition of trust and personal relationships. A forgery scandal of this magnitude could shatter that reputation, undermining the value of their collections and eroding the confidence of collectors worldwide. As they discussed the situation, Esther's thoughts turned to Harrison Blake. He was a prominent collector, a tech-savvy entrepreneur, and a vocal advocate for online auctions. Could he be involved? The thought was unsettling, a betrayal of the connection they had forged. Later that day, Esther received a call from Marcus. "Mom, you need to see this," he said, his voice urgent. "There's a thread on an online forum accusing several Charleston dealers of selling forged documents. And they're mentioning vintage hearts." Esther's heart sank. The whispers had become accusations, the shadow of suspicion now directly targeting her business. She felt a surge of anger, followed by a wave of fear. This wasn't just about reputation, it was about her livelihood, her legacy, everything she had worked for. She decided to take a drastic step. She would use her own expertise, combined with Marcus's tech skills, to investigate the forgeries. She would also, reluctantly, seek Harrison Blake's help. He had the resources, the connections, and the technological expertise to uncover the truth. But could she trust him? The tea had been steeped in tradition and trust, but the treachery lurking beneath the surface of the online world threatened to poison everything. The typewriters that had once penned genuine historical documents were now being overshadowed by the potential for digital manipulation, casting a long shadow over the authenticity of the past. Chapter 6. Forged Letters and Faltering Trust. Esther's decision to involve Harrison in the forgery investigation was fraught with uncertainty. She admired his knowledge and respected his passion for history, but the shadow of doubt lingered. Could a man so deeply embedded in the digital world, a world she viewed with suspicion, truly be trusted? She arranged to meet him at his office, a sleek, modern space that contrasted sharply with the antique-filled charm of vintage hearts. The building, a renovated warehouse on the outskirts of the historic district, housed his tech company, a testament to his success in the digital realm. Harrison greeted her warmly, his blue eyes filled with concern. "Esther, I'm so sorry to hear about these accusations," he said. "It's outrageous. What can I do to help?" Esther outlined her suspicions, sharing Eleanor's concerns and the online forum thread that implicated Vintage Hearts. She explained her plan to use a combination of traditional appraisal techniques and digital forensics to uncover the truth. "I need your expertise, Harrison," she said, her voice hesitant. "Your access to data, your understanding of online platforms, it could be invaluable." Harrison listened intently, his expression serious. "Of course, Esther," he said. "I'll do whatever I can. This is not just about your reputation, it's about the integrity of the entire antiques community. We need to find the source of these forgeries and expose them." He immediately put his team to work, assigning them to analyze the online auction data, trace the digital footprints of the sellers, and investigate the provenance of the suspect documents. He also offered to use his network of contacts in the collecting world to gather information and identify potential suspects. As they worked together, Esther found herself increasingly impressed by Harrison's commitment and his genuine desire to help. He was not just a tech entrepreneur, he was a passionate advocate for authenticity, a man who valued history and integrity as much as she did. However, a nagging doubt remained. During their investigation, they discovered that one of the most prolific sellers of the suspect documents was using an anonymous bidding account remarkably similar in style to History Hunter 76, Harrison's own bidding alias. The username was Legacy Hunter 99, a seemingly innocuous variation, but the bidding patterns, the aggressive tactics, and the specific items targeted, they all pointed to a possible connection. Esther confronted Harrison, her voice trembling with a mixture of anger and hurt. "Is this you, Harrison?" she asked, her eyes searching his. "Are you involved in this?" Harrison looked stunned, his face paling. "Esther, how can you even ask that?" he said, his voice laced with disbelief and pain. "I would never do anything to jeopardize your reputation or the integrity of the antiques world."
"I'm on your side."
His reaction seemed genuine, his hurt palpable. But the evidence, however circumstantial, was unsettling. The forged letters had cast a long shadow, not just on the antiques community, but on their budding relationship, creating a chasm of faltering trust. The digital world, with its anonymity and its potential for deception, had once again intruded upon Esther's world, threatening to unravel everything she held dear. Chapter 7. Son's Guidance, Mother's Resistance. The weight of the forgery accusations and the lingering suspicion surrounding Harrison pressed heavily on Esther. She found herself increasingly relying on Marcus, not just for his technical expertise, but also for his emotional support. Marcus, despite his initial enthusiasm for the digital world, was deeply concerned about the impact of the scandal on his mother and on Vintage Hearts. He had witnessed her dedication, her integrity, and her unwavering commitment to authenticity. He knew that the accusations were baseless, but he also understood the power of perception, the damage that even unfounded rumors could inflict. "Mom, we need to fight back," he said, his voice firm. "We can't let these anonymous accusers destroy everything you've built." He proposed a two-pronged approach, a robust public relations campaign to defend Vintage Hearts' reputation, and a comprehensive digital investigation to uncover the true source of the forgeries. Esther, while grateful for his support, resisted his suggestion to go public. She was a private person, uncomfortable with the spotlight, and she feared that engaging in a public battle would only amplify the controversy. "I don't want to give these accusations any more oxygen, Marcus," she said. "It's like fighting shadows. The more you fight, the bigger they become." "But Mom," Marcus argued, "silence can be interpreted as guilt. We need to show the world that we're confident in our innocence, that we're actively working to expose the truth." He also urged her to reconsider her suspicions about Harrison. "Mom, I know you're hesitant, but Harrison has been nothing but helpful. He's put his entire team on this, and he's sharing all the information he finds. He's acting like someone who genuinely wants to help." Esther sighed, her internal conflict evident. She valued Marcus's judgment, his tech-savvy perspective, but her gut instinct, honed by years of experience in the often deceptive world of antiques, told her to be cautious. "I know, Marcus," she said, "but something doesn't feel right." The similarities between Legacy Hunter 99 and Harrison's bidding account, it's too much of a coincidence. Marcus, while acknowledging the circumstantial evidence, urged her to keep an open mind. "Mom, algorithms can be manipulated. Usernames can be spoofed. We need to look at the bigger picture, gather more evidence before we jump to conclusions." His guidance was a source of both comfort and frustration. She appreciated his support, his logical approach, but her own instincts, her years of experience in a world where trust was paramount, told her to be wary. The son's modern perspective clashed with the mother's traditional caution, creating a tension that mirrored the larger conflict between the old and new worlds. The resistance to fully embrace technology, even in the face of its potential to solve the mystery, stemmed from a deep-seated fear of losing control, of surrendering to a world she didn't fully understand. Chapter 8. The Festival of Fakes and Fortunes. The annual Charleston Antiques Festival, usually a celebration of history and craftsmanship, was overshadowed by the forgery scandal. The atmosphere was tense, the usual buzz of excitement replaced by a murmur of suspicion and uncertainty. Collectors were hesitant to buy, dealers were on edge, and the reputation of the entire community hung in the balance. Esther, despite her personal turmoil, was determined to put on a brave face. She set up her booth, showcasing some of Vintage Heart's most prized pieces, hoping to project an image of confidence and stability. However, the festival felt different this year. The usual friendly banter among dealers was replaced by guarded conversations, the joy of discovery overshadowed by the fear of deception. The air was thick with unease, the spirit of camaraderie replaced by an undercurrent of mistrust. Harrison Blake, despite the lingering suspicion surrounding him, also attended the festival. He approached Esther's booth, his expression a mixture of concern and determination. "Esther, I know this is a difficult time," he said, his voice low. "But I want you to know that I'm still working to clear your name and to find the real culprit." Esther looked at him, her emotions a tangled web of doubt and longing. She wanted to believe him, to trust him, but the circumstantial evidence, the nagging voice of her intuition, held her back. "I appreciate your efforts, Harrison," she said, her tone guarded. "But until we have concrete proof, I think it's best if we keep our distance." Harrison's face fell, his disappointment evident. "Esther, please," he said. "Don't let this misunderstanding come between us. I care about you deeply." His words, spoken with such sincerity, sent a shiver through her. She was drawn to him, undeniably, but the fear of betrayal, the weight of the accusations loomed large. As the festival progressed, the tension escalated. A group of collectors, fueled by the online rumors and egged on by Giselle Dubois, Esther's longtime rival, staged a protest outside Esther's booth, accusing her of selling forged items and demanding refunds. The scene was chaotic, the accusations flying, the crowd growing increasingly agitated. Esther, feeling cornered and overwhelmed, struggled to maintain her composure. Suddenly, Marcus appeared, his face flushed with anger. He pushed his way through the crowd, standing protectively in front of his mother. "Enough!" he shouted, his voice rising above the din. "My mother is innocent. She has dedicated her life to preserving history, to upholding the highest standards of authenticity. These accusations are baseless, and they are fueled by jealousy and misinformation." He then unveiled a large screen connected to his laptop. "We have been working tirelessly to investigate these forgeries," he said. "And we have proof. Proof that exonerates my mother and points to the real culprit." The crowd fell silent, their attention riveted on the screen. Marcus presented a series of slides, detailing his digital investigation, tracing the IP addresses, analyzing the bidding patterns, and uncovering a trail of evidence that led not to Harrison Blake, but to a surprising and shocking source. The festival, meant to be a celebration of authentic treasures, had become a stage for exposing fakes and fortunes built on deception. The digital evidence, ironically, was about to become the savior of the traditional world. Chapter 9. Restoration and revelation. The evidence Marcus presented on the screen was irrefutable. He had meticulously traced the digital footprints of Legacy Hunter 99 and other suspicious accounts, uncovering a network of shell corporations, offshore bank accounts, and a sophisticated operation designed to conceal the true identity of the forger. The trail led, not to Harrison Blake, but to Eleanor Ainsworth, Esther's longtime mentor and the seemingly unimpeachable doyen of the Charleston antique scene. The revelation sent shockwaves through the crowd. Eleanor, the pillar of integrity, the champion of authenticity, was unmasked as a fraud, a master manipulator who had used her reputation and her position of trust to perpetrate a massive deception. Esther was devastated. She had looked up to Eleanor, trusted her implicitly, and the betrayal cut deep. She couldn't comprehend how a woman she had admired for so long could be capable of such deceit. As the police arrived to arrest Eleanor, a scene of stunned silence and whispered disbelief unfolded. Eleanor, her face a mask of defiance and shame, was led away, her carefully constructed world crumbling around her. Harrison, who had stood by Esther's side throughout the ordeal, offered her a comforting embrace. "I'm so sorry, Esther," he said, his voice filled with genuine empathy. "I know how much she meant to you." Esther leaned into him, her body trembling with a mixture of grief and relief. The truth was out, her name was cleared, but the pain of betrayal lingered. In the days that followed, the full extent of Eleanor's scheme was revealed. Driven by financial desperation and a misguided desire to maintain her lavish lifestyle, she had been forging and selling historical documents for years, using her expertise and her reputation to deceive collectors and enrich herself. The scandal rocked the Charleston antiques community, forcing a reckoning with the vulnerability of even the most trusted institutions. It also highlighted the importance of embracing technology, not as a replacement for traditional expertise, but as a tool to enhance it, to protect against fraud, and to preserve the integrity of the past. Marcus, vindicated by his digital investigation, became a hero of sorts, bridging the gap between the old and new worlds. He helped implement new security measures for online auctions, developed authentication protocols using blockchain technology, and educated dealers on how to protect themselves from cybercrime. Esther, while still grieving the loss of her mentor, began to see the value in Marcus's perspective. She realized that technology, while not a panacea, could be a powerful ally in the fight against fraud and the preservation of history. The restoration of her reputation was intertwined with the revelation of the truth, a truth uncovered through the very technology she had initially resisted. The experience forced a painful but necessary evolution, a merging of traditional values with modern methods. Chapter 10. Eleanor's Wisdom, Esther's Woe. In the aftermath of Eleanor's arrest, Esther grappled with a complex mix of emotions: betrayal, grief, anger, and a profound sense of loss. She had not only lost a mentor, but had also been forced to confront the darker side of a world she cherished. She visited Eleanor in jail, seeking answers, closure, some semblance of understanding. Eleanor, stripped of her elegant facade, looked frail and defeated. The meeting was strained, filled with unspoken accusations and tearful apologies. "Why, Eleanor?" Esther asked, her voice trembling. "Why would you do this? You had everything: respect, admiration, a legacy built on integrity." Eleanor sighed, her gaze fixed on the floor. "I don't know, Esther," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "It started small, a few minor embellishments, a little white lie to enhance the provenance of a piece. Then it spiraled. I got caught up in it, the money, the power, the illusion of control." She looked up at Esther, her eyes filled with regret. "I was afraid, Esther. Afraid of losing everything, of becoming irrelevant, of fading away into obscurity. I thought I could control it, that I could keep it contained. But I was wrong. So very wrong." Her words offered little comfort, but they provided a glimpse into the desperation and delusion that had driven her actions. Esther realized that Eleanor's wisdom, the very foundation of her own career, had been corrupted by fear and a misguided desire for control. "I trusted you, Eleanor," Esther said, her voice choked with emotion. "You were my mentor, my friend, and you betrayed that trust, not just mine, but the entire community's." Eleanor nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I know, Esther.
And I'm so sorry.
I've destroyed everything, my reputation, my legacy, my friendships. I have nothing left." The visit left Esther with a heavy heart. She had sought answers, but found only more questions, more pain. Eleanor's wisdom, once a guiding light, had become a source of profound woe, a reminder of the fragility of trust and the devastating consequences of deceit. As she left the jail, Esther felt a renewed sense of determination. She would not let Eleanor's actions define her or the future of Vintage Hearts. She would rebuild, she would learn from the past, and she would emerge stronger, wiser, and more committed to the values of authenticity and integrity that had always been at the core of her work. The woe was deep, but it also served as a catalyst for growth, a painful reminder of the importance of vigilance and the enduring need for ethical conduct in a world increasingly susceptible to manipulation. Chapter 11. The Digital Bridge and the Divided Circle. The forgery scandal had exposed a deep rift within the Charleston antiques community. The Collector's Circle, a group of traditional dealers who had long resisted the encroachment of technology, blamed the online platforms for facilitating the fraud. They saw the digital world as a breeding ground for deception, a threat to the integrity of their profession. On the other side were the younger, more tech-savvy dealers, led by Marcus, who argued that technology was not the problem, but the solution. They believed that online platforms, when properly managed and regulated, could expand access to antiques, connect collectors worldwide, and even enhance the authentication process. Esther found herself caught in the middle, torn between her loyalty to the traditional values she had always cherished and her growing appreciation for the potential of technology. She understood the concerns of the Collector's Circle, their fear of losing control, their resistance to change. But she also saw the validity of Marcus's arguments, the opportunities that technology offered to preserve and promote the antiques trade. She decided to organize a meeting, bringing together both sides of the divide, hoping to find common ground and forge a path forward. The meeting was held in the historic Charleston Library Society, a fitting venue for a discussion about the past, present, and future of the antiques world. The atmosphere was tense, the air thick with suspicion and resentment. The members of the Collector's Circle, mostly older dealers with decades of experience, sat on one side of the room, their faces etched with skepticism. The younger, more tech-savvy dealers, including Marcus and a few of his colleagues, sat on the other side, their expressions a mixture of frustration and determination. Esther, standing at the head of the table, began by acknowledging the pain and the damage caused by the forgery scandal. She spoke about the importance of trust, integrity, and the shared responsibility to protect the reputation of the Charleston antiques community. She then introduced Marcus, who presented a detailed proposal for a new, secure online platform incorporating blockchain technology to track provenance, verify authenticity, and prevent fraud. He explained how the platform could benefit all dealers, expanding their reach, streamlining their operations, and enhancing the trust and confidence of collectors. The Collector's Circle listened with skepticism, their arms crossed, their expressions unconvinced. They raised concerns about the cost of the new technology, the complexity of the system, and the potential for further digital disruptions. "We've always done things the old-fashioned way," said one of the older dealers, his voice laced with defiance. "Person-to-person, handshake deals, based on trust and reputation. That's how we've built this community, and that's how we'll continue to do business." Marcus responded patiently, addressing their concerns one by one. He explained that the new platform was designed to be user-friendly, even for those with limited technical skills. He emphasized that the technology was not meant to replace the personal touch, but to enhance it, to provide a secure and transparent environment for buying and selling antiques. The debate was heated, the arguments passionate, but gradually, a shift began to occur. Some of the older dealers, seeing the logic of Marcus's arguments and the potential benefits of the new platform, began to soften their stance. They realized that clinging to the past was not a viable option, that adapting to the changing world was essential for survival. The digital bridge that Marcus was proposing offered a way to preserve the values of the past while embracing the opportunities of the future. The divided circle began to show cracks of understanding, a glimmer of hope for a unified approach to a shared challenge. Chapter 12. Midnight Meetings and Misunderstood Motives. As the Charleston antiques community grappled with the fallout of the forgery scandal and the debate over technology, Esther's personal life also took an unexpected turn. She had distanced herself from Harrison Blake after the initial suspicion surrounding his bidding account, but she couldn't deny the lingering attraction, the undeniable connection they had forged. One evening, she received a cryptic message from Harrison, "Meet me at the Battery, midnight."
Urgent.
Her initial reaction was hesitation. Trust had been broken, suspicion had lingered, and she wasn't sure she was ready to face him again. But the urgency in his message, the sense of mystery, piqued her curiosity. She arrived at the Battery, a historic seawall promenade overlooking Charleston Harbor, shrouded in darkness. The only sounds were the gentle lapping of the waves and the distant hum of the city. Harrison was waiting for her, his silhouette outlined against the faint glow of the moon. He looked troubled, his usual charm replaced by a somber expression. "Esther, thank you for coming," he said, his voice low. "I know I have some explaining to do." He proceeded to reveal a series of discoveries he had made while continuing his own investigation into the forgery scandal. He had uncovered evidence that pointed to a deliberate attempt to frame him, to make him appear complicit in Eleanor's scheme. Someone manipulated the bidding records, he explained. They created a fake account, Legacy Hunter 99, that mimicked my bidding style, and they used it to purchase some of the forged documents. They wanted to discredit me, to drive a wedge between us. He showed her documents, emails, and digital forensic reports that supported his claims. The evidence was compelling, and Esther felt a wave of relief wash over her. She had misjudged him, allowed her suspicions to cloud her judgment. But why Harrison?
She asked.
Who would do this? And why you? Harrison sighed, his gaze fixed on the dark waters of the harbor. I believe it's someone connected to the collector circle, he said. Someone who sees me as a threat, a symbol of the technological changes they so vehemently oppose. They wanted to discredit me, to silence me, and to undermine your trust in me. His explanation made sense. The collector circle had been fiercely resistant to modernization, and Harrison, with his tech company and his advocacy for online platforms, was a natural target. The midnight meeting, shrouded in secrecy and fueled by a sense of urgency, had brought clarity and a renewed sense of connection. The misunderstood motives, the deliberate attempts to sabotage their relationship, only served to strengthen their bond. Esther realized that Harrison was not her enemy, but her ally, a man who shared her passion for authenticity and her commitment to preserving the integrity of the antiques world. The darkness of the night had yielded a light of understanding, a reaffirmation of trust, and a renewed hope for a future together. Chapter 13. Car Rallies and Rekindled Sparks. With the truth about Harrison's innocence revealed, and the evidence pointing towards a conspiracy within the collector's circle, Esther felt a renewed sense of hope and a rekindling of her feelings for him. The barriers of suspicion and mistrust began to crumble, replaced by a deeper understanding and a stronger connection. Harrison, eager to move past the misunderstandings and to solidify their relationship, invited Esther to join him at a vintage car rally, a weekend event showcasing classic automobiles and celebrating the craftsmanship of a bygone era. It was an opportunity to escape the pressures of the antiques world, to reconnect on a personal level, and to share their mutual appreciation for history and beauty. Esther, hesitant at first, eventually agreed. She recognized the need to step away from the stress and the negativity, to embrace the possibility of joy and connection. She also saw it as a chance to see a different side of Harrison, to witness his passion for something beyond the digital realm. The car rally was a vibrant, colorful affair, filled with the gleaming chrome, roaring engines, and nostalgic charm of classic automobiles. Collectors and enthusiasts from across the country gathered to showcase their prized possessions, to share stories, and to celebrate the artistry of automotive design. Harrison, a proud owner of a meticulously restored 1957 Chevrolet Bel Air, greeted Esther with a warm smile and a twinkle in his eye. He introduced her to his fellow car enthusiasts, sharing his passion for the history and the mechanics of vintage vehicles. Esther, initially out of her element, found herself captivated by the beauty and the craftsmanship of the cars. She admired the sleek lines, the intricate details, and the stories behind each restoration project. She saw a parallel between the preservation of antique furniture and the restoration of classic cars, a shared commitment to honoring the past and preserving its beauty for future generations. As they strolled through the rows of gleaming vehicles, Harrison shared anecdotes about his own car, its history, its restoration process, and the joy it brought him. He spoke with a passion that mirrored Esther's own love for antiques, and she found herself drawn to his enthusiasm, his knowledge, and his genuine appreciation for craftsmanship. They spent the weekend immersed in the world of vintage cars, attending workshops, participating in parades, and enjoying the camaraderie of fellow enthusiasts. The car rally became a backdrop for their rekindled romance, a space where they could reconnect, laugh, and rediscover the spark that had initially drawn them together. The shared passion for preserving the past, whether through antiques or automobiles, became a bridge, connecting their hearts and solidifying their bond. The roar of the engines was a counterpoint to the whispers of doubt, and the gleaming chrome reflected a brighter future, free from the shadows of suspicion. Chapter 14. The Auction House Under Siege. While Esther and Harrison enjoyed a brief respite at the car rally, the situation in Charleston's antiques community continued to deteriorate. The members of the collector's circle, increasingly desperate to discredit technology and protect their traditional way of doing business, escalated their attacks on Vintage Hearts and on Marcus's proposed online platform. They spread rumors, filed complaints with the city council, and even attempted to sabotage the upcoming launch of the new platform by planting false information and disrupting online security protocols. Their actions were fueled by fear, resentment, and a misguided belief that they could turn back the clock and preserve a world that was rapidly disappearing. Upon their return from the car rally, Esther and Harrison were met with a barrage of negative press, angry emails, and threatening phone calls. Vintage Hearts was under siege, its reputation tarnished, its future uncertain. Marcus, frustrated and angered by the relentless attacks, urged Esther to fight back aggressively. "Mom, we need to expose these people," he said. "We need to show the world that they're the ones who are trying to undermine the integrity of the antiques community, not us." Esther, while sharing his frustration, was hesitant to engage in a public battle. She preferred a more measured approach, believing that truth and transparency would ultimately prevail. However, the situation reached a crisis point when a group of protesters, led by Giselle Dubois, gathered outside Vintage Hearts, blocking the entrance and harassing customers. They carried signs with inflammatory slogans, accusing Esther of fraud, deception, and destroying the traditions of the Charleston antiques community. The scene was chaotic, the atmosphere tense, and the potential for violence loomed large. Esther, feeling trapped and overwhelmed, realized that she could no longer remain silent. She had to defend her business, her reputation, and the values she held dear. She stepped outside, facing the angry crowd, her heart pounding in her chest. She spoke calmly, but firmly, addressing their concerns, refuting their accusations, and appealing to their sense of reason and fairness. "I understand your fears," she said. "I understand your resistance to change. But I assure you, my intentions are honorable. I am committed to preserving the integrity of the antiques world, just as you are. But we cannot do that by clinging to the past. We must adapt. We must embrace new technologies, and we must work together to protect ourselves from fraud and deception." Her words, while heartfelt, were met with jeers and shouts of disapproval. The protesters, fueled by misinformation and resentment, refused to listen. Suddenly, Harrison stepped forward, his presence commanding attention. He spoke with authority, his voice resonating with passion and conviction. "I have been a collector for many years," he said. and I have seen firsthand the damage that fraud can inflict. I have also seen the incredible potential of technology to protect us, to enhance our ability to authenticate and preserve historical artifacts. Esther Westbrook is not your enemy. She is your ally. She is working to protect your interests, to ensure the future of the antiques trade. His words, coming from a respected collector and a successful tech entrepreneur, began to have an impact. Some of the protesters, seeing the sincerity in his eyes and hearing the logic of his arguments, began to lower their signs. The auction house, a symbol of tradition and commerce, had become a battleground for the future, a place where the clash between old and new worlds reached its climax. The siege was not just physical, it was ideological, a desperate attempt to hold back the tide of progress. Chapter 15. Social Media Storm and Silent Suspicions. The protest outside Vintage Hearts, while ultimately dispersed by the police, ignited a firestorm on social media. News outlets, both local and national, picked up the story, amplifying the controversy and fueling the debate about the future of the antiques trade. Online forums and social media platforms became battlegrounds, with supporters and detractors of Vintage Hearts clashing in heated arguments. Accusations, rumors, and misinformation spread like wildfire, further damaging Esther's reputation and undermining public trust in the Charleston antiques community. Giselle Dubois and her allies within the collector circle used the online platforms to their advantage, spreading false narratives, manipulating public opinion, and orchestrating a coordinated campaign to discredit Esther and Harrison. Marcus, monitoring the online activity, became increasingly alarmed. "Mom, this is out of control," he said. "They're destroying your reputation, and they're doing it with lies and innuendo. We need to fight back, and we need to fight back hard." He proposed a counteroffensive, using social media to expose the truth, to refute the false accusations, and to rally support for Vintage Hearts. He wanted to launch a series of online videos, featuring testimonials from satisfied customers, expert opinions on authentication, and evidence of the collector circle's conspiracy. Esther, while recognizing the need to defend herself, was hesitant to engage in a social media war. She disliked the anonymity, the vitriol, and the lack of civility that often characterized online discussions. She preferred a more personal, face-to-face approach, believing that truth and reason would ultimately prevail. However, the situation became increasingly dire. Online sales plummeted, customers canceled orders, and even some of her longtime clients began to express doubts. The social media storm was having a real-world impact, threatening to destroy everything she had built. Amidst the online chaos, Esther received an anonymous email containing a cryptic message. "The clock is ticking. The truth is hidden in plain sight. Look closer." The message intrigued her. It suggested that there was more to the story than met the eye, that the key to unraveling the conspiracy was hidden within the antiques themselves. She shared the message with Harrison, who agreed that it was worth investigating. They decided to focus their attention on the items that had been sold by Eleanor Ainsworth, the forged documents that had triggered the scandal. They believed that a closer examination of these items might reveal clues about the forger's identity and their methods. The social media storm raged on, a whirlwind of accusations and counter-accusations, but Esther and Harrison remained focused on their investigation, pursuing a silent suspicion, the hunch that the truth was hidden within the very objects that had caused so much turmoil. The digital world had become a weapon, but it could also be a tool for uncovering the truth, for exposing the lies, and for restoring faith in the integrity of the past. Chapter 16. The Innovation Team's Ultimatum. While Esther and Harrison delved deeper into the physical evidence, Marcus faced mounting pressure from his digital innovation team, the young tech experts he had assembled to develop the new online auction platform. The team, frustrated by the relentless attacks from the collector circle and the slow pace of adoption, presented Marcus with an ultimatum. "We're wasting our time," Marcus, said Sarah, the lead developer, her voice laced with frustration. "We've built a state-of-the-art platform, a system that could revolutionize the antiques trade, but no one wants to use it. They're too afraid of change, too stuck in their old ways." The team members echoed her sentiments. They felt that their efforts were being undermined by the negativity and the resistance from the traditional dealers. They were losing faith in the project, and they were considering abandoning it altogether. "We have other opportunities, Marcus," said David, the security expert. "We could be working on projects that are valued, that are making a real difference. We're not going to waste our talents on a community that refuses to embrace the future." Marcus understood their frustration. He had poured his heart and soul into this project, believing that it could bridge the gap between the old and new worlds, that it could preserve the integrity of the antiques trade while also expanding its reach and accessibility. But he also recognized the reality of the situation. The resistance from the collector's circle was strong, the social media storm was raging, and the future of the project was uncertain. He pleaded with his team to give him more time. "I know it's tough," he said, "but we're close. We're on the verge of a breakthrough. If we can just expose the truth about the forgeries, if we can show the world that technology is not the enemy, but the solution, we can turn this around." The team members remained skeptical, but they agreed to give him one more week. They would continue to work on the platform, to refine its features, and to prepare for its launch. But if, by the end of the week, there was no significant progress, no sign of a shift in public opinion, they would walk away. Marcus knew that the fate of the project, and perhaps the future of Vintage Hearts, rested on his ability to convince his mother to embrace a more aggressive approach, to fight back against the attacks, and to rally support for the new platform. He also knew that time was running out. The innovation team's ultimatum was a ticking clock, a deadline that forced a confrontation between the promise of technology and the resistance of tradition. The future of the antiques trade and the fate of Vintage Hearts hung in the balance. Chapter 17. Marcus's plea. Esther's plight. Marcus, armed with the innovation team's ultimatum and a renewed sense of urgency, confronted Esther. He knew that he needed to convince her to change her approach, to embrace a more proactive strategy, to combat the negative publicity and rally support for the new online platform. "Mom, we're losing," he said, his voice filled with desperation. "We're losing customers, we're losing credibility, and we're losing the future of Vintage Hearts. We need to fight back." Esther, weary from the constant battles and still reeling from Eleanor's betrayal, resisted his plea. "I don't know, Marcus," she said. "I'm tired of fighting. I'm tired of the accusations, the negativity, the constant struggle. I just want to go back to the way things were." Marcus understood her exhaustion, her longing for the simpler days of the past. But he also knew that there was no going back. The world had changed, and they had to adapt or perish. "Mom, I know it's hard," he said, "but we can't give up. We can't let these people win. We have something valuable to offer, something that can preserve the integrity of the antiques trade while also making it more accessible to everyone." He presented her with a detailed plan, outlining a social media campaign, a series of public appearances, and a strategy to engage with the media and counter the false narratives being spread by the collector circle. Esther listened, her expression a mixture of reluctance and resignation. She knew that Marcus was right, that she needed to take a stand, but the thought of engaging in a public battle, of exposing herself to further criticism and scrutiny, filled her with dread. "I'm not sure I'm cut out for this, Marcus," she said. "I'm an antiques appraiser, not a public relations expert. I don't know how to fight this kind of battle." Marcus took her hand, his eyes filled with compassion and determination. "You're stronger than you think, Mom," he said. "You've faced challenges before, and you've always overcome them. You have a voice, and it's time to use it. You have a story to tell, and it's time to share it with the world." His words, his unwavering belief in her, gave her a surge of strength. She realized that she couldn't stand idly by while her business, her reputation, and the future of the antiques trade were being destroyed. She had to fight, not just for herself, but for the values she held dear, for the legacy she wanted to leave behind. Esther's plight was not just about saving her business, it was about finding her voice, about embracing a new role, about stepping out of her comfort zone and becoming a champion for change. Marcus's plea was not just a call to action, it was an invitation to embrace a new identity, to become a leader in a world that was rapidly evolving. The mother's resistance was giving way to a newfound determination, a willingness to fight for the future, even if it meant stepping into the unfamiliar and uncomfortable arena of public debate. Chapter 18. Unmasking the Forger, Unveiling the Feelings. Esther and Harrison, guided by the cryptic message in the anonymous email, focused their investigation on the forged documents that had been sold by Eleanor Ainsworth. They meticulously examined each item, searching for clues, anomalies, anything that might reveal the forger's identity or methods. They spent hours poring over the letters, scrutinizing the paper, the ink, the handwriting, and the postmarks. They used magnifying glasses, ultraviolet lights, and specialized software to analyze the documents, comparing them to known authentic examples. Finally, after days of painstaking work, they discovered a tiny, almost imperceptible detail, a watermark on one of the letters, a faint image embedded in the paper that did not match the known watermarks of the period. The watermark was a modern one, used by a specific paper manufacturer that had only been in business for a few decades. This discovery was a breakthrough, a clear indication that the documents were forgeries and that the forger had made a crucial mistake. They traced the paper manufacturer, and through a series of inquiries, they identified a small printing shop in Charleston that had purchased the specific type of paper used in the forged documents. The owner of the shop, after some initial reluctance, revealed that he had been commissioned to produce a series of reproduction historical documents by a member of the Collector's Circle, a man named Arthur Finch, a longtime rival of Esther's and a vocal opponent of technology. The pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place. Finch, driven by jealousy, resentment, and a desperate attempt to preserve his traditional way of doing business, had orchestrated the entire forgery scheme. He had used Eleanor's declining financial situation to his advantage, manipulating her into selling the forged documents, and then he had used his connections within the Collector's Circle and the media to spread rumors and accusations, hoping to discredit Esther, Harrison, and Marcus's online platform. With the evidence in hand, Esther and Harrison confronted Finch. He initially denied the accusations, but when faced with the overwhelming proof, he broke down and confessed. He admitted to forging the documents, to manipulating Eleanor, and to orchestrating the campaign to discredit Vintage Hearts. The unmasking of the forger was a triumph for Esther and Harrison, a vindication of their efforts, and a turning point in the battle for the future of the antiques trade. But it was also a moment of profound sadness, a recognition of the depths of human deceit and the devastating consequences of unchecked ambition. As the truth was revealed, the feelings that had been simmering between Esther and Harrison, the attraction, the connection, the shared passion for history and authenticity, could no longer be denied. With the barriers of suspicion and mistrust removed, their hearts opened to each other, and they embraced, their love a beacon of hope amidst the wreckage of betrayal and deceit. The unveiling of the forger was also an unveiling of their feelings, a culmination of a journey filled with challenges, misunderstandings, and a growing realization that their connection was stronger than any obstacle. Chapter 19. The Final Bid for Love and Legacy. With Arthur Finch exposed as the forger and the truth about the conspiracy revealed, the tide began to turn. The social media storm subsided, replaced by a wave of support for Esther and Vintage Hearts. The members of the Collector's Circle, ashamed of their complicity in Finch's scheme, began to distance themselves from him, and many expressed a willingness to reconsider their opposition to technology. Marcus's online platform, once on the brink of failure, gained new momentum. Dealers, recognizing the benefits of a secure and transparent system for buying and selling antiques, began to sign up, and collectors, reassured by the enhanced authentication protocols, returned to the online marketplace. Esther, vindicated and empowered by her victory, embraced her new role as a leader in the changing antiques world. She became a vocal advocate for the integration of technology and tradition, sharing her story at conferences, workshops, and industry events. She demonstrated that it was possible to preserve the values of the past while also embracing the opportunities of the future. Harrison, his reputation restored and his relationship with Esther blossoming, continued to support her every step of the way. He used his tech expertise to refine the online platform, to enhance its security features, and to develop new tools for authentication and provenance tracking. 1 year after the forgery scandal, Vintage Hearts hosted a grand reopening celebration, marking its transformation into a hybrid business, blending the best of the traditional and digital worlds. The event was held in the newly renovated Orpheum Theater, a symbolic merging of Esther's and Harrison's passions. The theater was filled with a diverse crowd: long-time clients, new customers, members of the collector's circle, tech entrepreneurs, and even some of Esther's former rivals, who had come to acknowledge her resilience and her vision. Esther, standing on the stage alongside Harrison and Marcus, addressed the crowd, her voice filled with emotion and gratitude. "This has been a journey of challenges and triumphs," she said. "A journey of learning and growth. A journey that has taught me the importance of embracing change, of trusting in the power of collaboration, and of never giving up on the values that define us." She spoke about the importance of preserving history, of honoring craftsmanship, and of building a community based on trust and integrity. She thanked Harrison and Marcus for their unwavering support, and she acknowledged the contributions of everyone who had helped Vintage Hearts weather the storm. As the evening drew to a close, Harrison took Esther's hand, his eyes filled with love and admiration. He led her to the center of the stage, and as the music began to play, they danced, their movements a graceful expression of their shared journey, their enduring love, and their commitment to a future where tradition and technology danced together in harmony. The final bid was not for an antique, but for a life together, a legacy built on trust, resilience, and a shared passion for preserving the beauty and the stories of the past. The auction house had been restored, not just as a place of business, but as a symbol of hope, a testament to the power of adaptation, and a celebration of a love that had blossomed amidst the challenges of a changing world. The legacy was not just about antiques, it was about human connection, about overcoming adversity, and about building a future where the best of both worlds could coexist. Chapter 20. A New Era for Antiques and Affections. The grand reopening of Vintage Hearts marked not just the culmination of a hard-fought battle, but the beginning of a new era for the Charleston antiques community. The integration of technology and tradition, once a source of conflict, became a source of strength, creating a more vibrant, resilient, and inclusive marketplace. Marcus's online platform, now widely adopted, revolutionized the way antiques were bought and sold, expanding the reach of Charleston dealers to a global audience. The blockchain technology ensured the authenticity and provenance of items, restoring trust and confidence in the market. The collector's circle, humbled by the exposure of Finch's conspiracy and inspired by Esther's leadership, began to embrace technology, recognizing its potential to enhance their businesses and preserve the integrity of the antiques trade. They participated in workshops, learned new skills, and even started using social media to connect with collectors and promote their businesses. Esther, now a respected figure in both the traditional and digital worlds, became a mentor to younger dealers, sharing her expertise and guiding them through the complexities of the changing marketplace. She also established a foundation to support the preservation of historical artifacts and to educate the public about the importance of cultural heritage. Harrison, his tech company thriving and his relationship with Esther stronger than ever, continued to be her partner in both life and business. They traveled the world together, exploring antique markets, attending auctions, and sharing their passion for history and craftsmanship. One sunny afternoon, Esther and Harrison found themselves strolling through the streets of Charleston's historic district, hand in hand, their love a familiar comfort amidst the bustling city. They paused at a small antique shop, a new addition to the neighborhood, its window displaying a collection of vintage treasures. Inside, they saw a young woman, the owner of the shop, using a tablet to catalog her inventory, her fingers flying across the screen with effortless ease. She looked up, saw Esther, and her eyes widened with recognition. "Ms. Westbrook," she exclaimed. "It's an honor to meet you. You're an inspiration to me. I've followed your story, and I'm so grateful for everything you've done for the antiques community." Esther smiled, her heart filled with a sense of fulfillment. She had not only saved her own business, But she had also paved the way for a new generation of dealers, a generation that embraced both tradition and technology, a generation that understood the importance of preserving the past while also embracing the future. As they continued their stroll, Esther and Harrison reflected on their journey, the challenges they had overcome, the lessons they had learned, and the love that had blossomed amidst the turmoil. They had built a legacy together, a legacy of resilience, innovation, and a shared passion for the beauty and the stories of the past. The new era was not just about antiques, it was about affections, about the enduring power of human connection, and about the ability to adapt, to grow, and to find love and fulfillment in a world that was constantly changing. The final chapter was not an ending, but a continuation, a testament to the enduring spirit of Charleston and the timeless beauty of vintage hearts finding their place in a digital world. Epilogue. Years passed, and the Charleston antiques community thrived, a testament to Esther's vision and the collaborative spirit that had emerged from the crucible of the forgery scandal. Vintage Hearts, now a nationally recognized brand, continued to be a leader in the industry, seamlessly blending the traditional charm of a brick-and-mortar store with the cutting-edge technology of its online platform. Marcus, having successfully transitioned the business into the digital age, stepped back from day-to-day operations to pursue his own entrepreneurial ventures, leaving Vintage Hearts in the capable hands of a new generation of passionate and tech-savvy antiques experts. Esther and Harrison, their love deepened by time and shared experiences, continue to be actively involved in the business, serving as mentors, advisors, and ambassadors for the Charleston antiques community. They traveled extensively, sourcing rare and unique items, attending auctions, and sharing their expertise with collectors and enthusiasts around the world. One crisp autumn evening, they found themselves back in Charleston, strolling along the Battery, the same spot where Harrison had revealed his innocence and rekindled their romance years before. The city lights twinkled across the harbor, casting a magical glow on the water. They stopped at a bench, overlooking the spot where Fort Sumter stood, a silent sentinel guarding the entrance to the harbor, a reminder of the city's rich and often turbulent history. "It's hard to believe how much has changed," Esther said, her voice filled with a mixture of nostalgia and contentment. "We've come a long way, haven't we?" Harrison nodded, his hand squeezing hers.
We have, he said.
"And we did it together. We faced the challenges, we embraced the changes, and we built something beautiful, something lasting." They sat in silence for a moment, reflecting on their journey, the battles they had fought, the victories they had celebrated, and the love that had sustained them through it all. "I remember when I thought technology was the enemy," Esther said, a hint of amusement in her voice. "Now, I can't imagine life without it." Harrison chuckled. "And I remember when I thought traditional antiques dealers were a dying breed," he said. "Now, I see them as the keepers of history, the guardians of our cultural heritage." They had both learned, grown, and adapted, their perspectives broadened by their shared experiences, their love deepened by their willingness to embrace change and to support each other through thick and thin. As the moon rose higher in the sky, casting a silvery path across the water, they stood up, their arms around each other, their hearts filled with gratitude and love. They walked slowly back towards their home, a beautifully restored historic house in the heart of the Antiques District, a symbol of their enduring commitment to preserving the past while embracing the future. The epilogue was not an ending, but a continuation, a testament to the enduring power of love, the resilience of the human spirit, and the timeless beauty of vintage hearts finding their place in a digital world, a story that would continue to unfold, generation after generation, a legacy of passion, perseverance, and the enduring magic of Charleston.